YouTube autoplay. It'll get you every time. I'd like to call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Kill Devil Hills Board of Commissioners. If you would, please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And if you would, right now we'll take a few moments to, we'll take a moment of silence. Thank you so much. We have an agenda before you. Seen this in your packet.
Motion to approve the agenda?
We have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Motion carries unanimously. We have an agenda. The first item on our agenda is public comment. I have a couple people signed up here, but just briefly, I'll let you know that, as you probably already know these rules, but 3 minutes for an individual, 5 minutes for a group. Please let us know your name and where you live in the town, or even if you don't live in the town. First up is Joe Trader.
Mr. Mayor, Council, as my mother was frequently, excuse me, I'm tall. As my mother frequently pointed out, don't complain all the time, come with a solution as well. So I'd like to talk about yard refuse. The inimitable Mr. Gray and I, neighbors, share a property between our homes right now that is a classic example of what I want to talk about. The resident there took an old refrigerator out of his garage, set it right on the side of the road, was thoughtful enough to take the doors off of it as per required. It sat there for about 10 days, didn't move, and then it got moved. He took it off the side of the street, moved it up against some trees on his side yard, tipped it on its side, and it sits there now. We have a running pool of neighbors to see how many months that thing will sit there. So with that in mind, as Mr. Gray also knows, I have 2 dogs. I walk the dogs every morning, noon, and night around the neighborhood. I got about 6 streets around. I'm on Quail Lane, so I go as far as Holly one way and Ocean Acres the other way, and I walk them. And as I walk, I am obviously noting the neighborhood and the properties as I walk. I have Jordan Blythe on speed dial on my telephone. And so with that in mind, I'd like to make 3 suggestions for the board's consideration on how we could better handle this problem of refuse on the street. Number 1, to my knowledge, all of the dump truck or the trash truck drivers are town employees. Another is just down the street from me, Jeff. I would hope that they have a vested interest in the appearance of our community. At a minimum, about 80 times a year, they drive every square inch of the mileage on east and west of the bypass through the town of Kill Devil Hills, picking up the trash. How difficult would it be to give each driver, put in the cab of each truck, a pad of paper and a pen, and as the drivers do their routes, when they see refuse dumped on the properties, just make a note of it. And when they finish their route that day, turn it into their supervisor, that it can then be turned over to the proper people to check it out. Right now, as far as I know, it is incumbent upon citizens to make the complaints if there is refuse left on properties. Number 2, I feel like when I walk the dogs, I have to carry a tape measure with me, a really big tape measure, because as I have talked with Jordan, as I understand it, if the refuse is from the street side to about 30 feet back. In other words, the length or the width of the easement, the county or town easement. If it's within that 30 feet, I have to call public services, and it's the trash people's issue. If it's 31 feet and further back, then I call Jordan because it belongs to the planning department, code enforcement. I would make the suggestion, make it one person. Make it one person, one phone number, deals from the street to the back of the property. It'd make it certainly easier, and that way then I know who I need to contact. My last suggestion is with regards to what to do about that. Number of the residents that are in the area that I walk fall into, I guess, three, when I see stuff that sits, I think falls into basically three categories. One, they're people who don't have a pickup truck or a trailer. They don't have a means to get the trash to the dump. Number two, they're renters, which of course we know we have a lot of. They don't get a sticker. They don't have access to the dump to drop this stuff off. Or three, and this is the consensus, the most popular, they just don't give a darn. It just goes out to the curb and it sits there until somebody complains about it, and even then they don't care about it. So my third suggestion is have the public services, right now you only do 2, the spring and the fall trash pickups. That's it. If somebody gets a new dishwasher or refrigerator or what have you, and they forget to have the installers take the old one away, and now they're stuck with it, if they get it for like Christmas or the middle of the summer, it sits and takes up room in their house, or it sits out on the street until the fall or the spring pickup. I would recommend consider implementing a on-call pickup policy for public services and charge a minimum amount, $25. Okay? Something that is certainly within the realm of affordability for the residents. You call, we'll charge you $25, we'll come out and we'll pick it up. No problem. However, let's carrot and stick this. If you do not call and it sits there and someone complains, then, as I believe the planning department does, because I know 2 of my neighbors are under this, then you get charged a fine, $50 a month, until it goes away. Carrot and stick. That's my speech.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next up, I have a Julie, I think it's Julie Robinson. Okay.
Thank you for letting me speak to you tonight. My name is Julie Robinson, and I own a historic landmark cottage with my sister at 2019 South Virginia Dare Trail. I wanted to start by thanking the people in the planning department who've spoken with me and helped me understand the permitting process and the guidelines in the CAMA land use plan. Because of that, I understand that the construction going on the dune at 2023-2025 South Virginia Dare Trail falls within the guidelines of the CAMA land use plan. I also understand that that particular site allows for several exceptions. So I'm not here to argue about the construction at that site. I'm here because I wanted to publicly express my concern about the long-term consequences of such a massive amount of construction being built on the dunes so close to the ocean and the beach on those properties. And I understand that some of you share my concerns with that, and I appreciate that. I know too that there's a concern with lawsuits because the CAMA guidelines allow these exceptions, but I've done some research and read other towns' land use plans, which gives the town amendments that give the town authority to deny permits if needed to ensure safety or to protect natural resources. And I can't think of any more important natural resources than our dunes, our beaches, and our ocean. I was already concerned because of the 2 22-bedroom houses built on that property those houses that are promoted as event centers bring with them several issues, including fire hazards and noise and overcrowding. But honestly, it's what's being built on the ocean side of the houses that really concerns me. Everybody that has oceanfront property wants a gazebo and a walkway to the beach. Swimming pools are typical behind a lot of oceanfront houses. That's expected. But it looks like these developers went through the list of exceptions and decided to build as many of them as they could, as big as they could, and as close to the beach and the ocean as was allowed. There are several gazebos, there are decks, there are walkways, there are elevated walkways, there are enclosed storage sheds, and all of these things, as you can see by the before and after photos that I took from my deck, are closer to the ocean than our deck. This is an environmental concern for me, but it's also personal because our family cottage is 2 lots north of that site. I grew up as a child playing on that dune, and we were taught, and I've taught my children and grandchildren, that the dune is our protection, and we have to respect it and the vegetation that's there. And a couple of years ago, when we tried to move some sand so our deck wouldn't be covered, we were told we could only use shovels, no heavy equipment. So when I went up there and saw what the bulldozers had done, removing that sand, removing all the vegetation there, it was shocking. If you haven't seen it, you should go look at it, because that area is closer to the beach than our deck. In fact, the steps to the beach from those new houses have already been at the high tide mark with water lapping around the base in an earlier storm. We've seen the problems in Rodanthe. I know our erosion rate isn't as high, but it's going to change. There are problems in Duck and Corolla right now with pools and other structures that are undermined and at risk of falling onto the beach and into the ocean. And I know from my research that litigation to remove those structures is very, very complicated. So that's another area to be concerned about. It also seems crucial to me at this time, when we're thinking of climate change and the risk of sea level rise, that we want to be even more cautious about what's being built that close to the beach and the ocean. The last thing I wanted to say tonight is, in your land use plan, the town land use plan, in section 3, on page 319, this is what it states. Oceanfront beaches and dunes help protect buildings and environments behind them by absorbing the force of wind and waves, while the dense root networks of dune plants trap and anchor the sand. Left uncontrolled, development can destroy these dunes and their vegetation, increasing the risk of damage to structures from erosion, flooding, and waves. And the final statement there that is highlighted, the town is actively committed to preserving and protecting the dunes. It doesn't seem to be the case at the site that I'm describing. Development there is out of control. It has compromised the dune. The vegetation has been removed, and that increases the risk of damage to the structures behind it. I just hope that you will consider these long-term consequences. People ask me, why are you going to speak? You know, it's a waste of time. You're not going to get anything done. But, you know, if I don't speak out and let people see what's going on there, then we're never going to change it. And, you know, I think we have to be aware of the beauty of this area. You can look in those pictures and you can see which one is beautiful. It's not the one with the massive construction, I can tell you. So I hope you'll consider it. I hope you'll look into ways maybe that we can change it so that this kind of construction on the dune that close to the ocean doesn't occur in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. You do not have to sign up. You can just have something take hold of you, and you want to go up to the podium and let us know now is your moment. We actually have another opportunity for public comment at the end of the meeting as well, if you want to get your thoughts together. But one more call for public comment. All right, hearing none, we will close public comment. The next item is response to public comment. I want to thank both speakers for everything you said, and I'll let you know that we do consider all of those things on a regular basis. We've talked about them for years, and we've made a bunch of inroads to hopefully make a little bit of progress in that area. We've passed some ordinances that incentivize property owners on the ocean front to build smaller homes in ways that they haven't in the past. We have incentivized putting sprinkler systems in large homes by, like I said, an incentive program. It's not required, we can't require it, but we were able to construct something that was enough benefit for the homeowner that we think that every large home will have a sprinkler in it from now on. And we have some of the smallest homes being built on the oceanfront right now that have been built in the last 30 years. So slowly but surely. Sorry about your view, of course, but we're very concerned about that, and we definitely know all the camel rules inside and out, and are looking for every idea we can to preserve what we have. So thank you so much for your time. Anything else anybody would like to say?
Mayor, I don't want to put you on the spot, so I don't, but is it something that maybe that we could take a look at in like what she was saying about our land use plan? And
I would be happy to investigate the
Yeah.
land use plan. I'm not familiar with what
Yeah,
she
I don't
said,
wanna
so
put
would
you on
have
the
to look
spot, like I
into
said, but if there are other towns that are finding a way to make it work, I think it would be worth looking at, because that's not okay.
We're finding our own ways,
I
but
mean,
we don't want
environment,
to.
you know.
Yeah, we don't want to
for a lot
reinvent a
of
wheel. If there's other ideas,
Right,
we always want to find those.
We'll look into
So,
it.
thank you.
And to the other speaker, I think we are coming into budget season here, where we're looking at the costs of roadside pickup, and I'm sure it'll be a topic that we bring up as we get closer to looking at the budget. So thank you for sharing that as well.
And that's why I suggested the minimal fee, $25
Right.
should be enough, to cover the driver's time and the gas just to go out and make a pickup. So I don't mean to make this a burden on the town. I prefer it to be self-sustaining.
We appreciate people who bring good ideas,
Yeah.
particularly. Thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, I think a third cleanup wouldn't be it's amazing that we have two, and I know that's expensive, for sure, but a third one, a year might be good. I know that personally. I know sometimes things build up, you know. I don't have a truck. I don't have a truck.
I'm trying to avoid that. I was trying
Yeah.
to make it
Yeah.
more of a by event requirement, and
Right.
therefore that's the fee was to cover the time and expense of doing it 52 weeks of the year.
Yeah.
And not have to try, again, like I said, I didn't want this to be another burden on the town budget. Make it something small, affordable, quick, get out, pick it up, bring it back, and be done with it.
It's possible, I think.
Good small business idea too. So somebody should be, there's a need out there. I'm sure there's lots of folks who would like to do that.
Yeah, I think that, especially metal, yeah.
Yeah, and, Fiverr, all that kind of thing. Great ideas that we'll definitely be discussing. Any other comments about public comment? All right, if not, we'll move along. Any other ongoing business items?
No, sir.
All right. The next new business item is the lease agreement for the Killable Hills Fire Station, number 14, and the Dare County EMS Station number 1. Let's see, we've got some folks from the county here. Bob, good to
Yes,
see
sir.
you.
County Manager Bobby Alton's here this evening, to help with any questions that the board may have.
Right, so board members, you saw in your packet all the details about this lease and all the steps that we had leading up to it. I know that the fire department has been deeply involved in the, all of the requirements and needs being met there. And I appreciated in the documents how it really lays out how this is, exactly what it costs, basically, and the additional things that needed to be added were added at the request of our fire department, and hopefully I'm summing this up pretty well. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Alton?
Well, I just wanted to ask one quick. I know it says that in April we'll have the financing figured out and secured, but I guess it's like what came first, the chicken or the egg kind of thing. We can't figure that out until we come to an agreement Is that, I just wanna clarify for the public, cause I know I've gotten questions,
I
like
think-
why would we enter into something
Sure.
without, so I just wanna make sure we have.
You have a lease that has a formula in it to recover the cost of your share, if you will, of the building.
Right,
And please correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you have the guaranteed maximum price for the whole structure's about $24.6 million. That's for everything. Your share of the ongoing cost of that are a little over 48%, 48 point something percent of that cost. And so you can calculate, I don't have it calculated, but you
Yeah,
can
no.
calculate your number going forward. Your maintenance costs are variable because they're gonna vary on whatever the maintenance needs are over time. Your 48% share ends at the 20-year because you're basically paying your share of the financing for building the property. That share does not include land costs. We're covering all of the land costs, so there's not a land cost share in that. And so that's how the number is calculated, but it wasn't just a rent number because we have to go to the local government commission to get all this stuff
Right.
approved. Until we have a guaranteed maximum price and until we have a lease approved by both parties, we can't submit that to local government commission for their approval.
right, okay, I just wanted to make sure.
Is this a negotiation like process, or is it pretty much you just think it's formulaic as far as the number that's being charged to the town on this lease?
So-
I mean, is it all a formula in your opinion? Is there a discount? Is it discounted? Is there a premium, or
There's-
you know?
there's-
Obviously, we have a
There's,
duty to really understand it. you
there's
know?
no premium.
Of course.
And there's no profit to us. This was a collaboration between the town and the county, and we began discussions, 2 or 3 years ago, about your need and our need. We had a site that became available for sale there. You had a need, we had a need. How could we both meet that need? We bought the site with the idea that we would collaborate and do something, but also if for some reason the town was not interested, then we would go alone because we had to have a new EMS station there. The town needed to do something as well, and so we worked together and have been working together over the last 3 years with your staff, your fire department. I mean, people talk about collaboration and we ought to be doing things together. Well, this is one of those things where we did. The cost to build, basically you're paying your share of that. What you're saving on this is you're not paying any of the land costs. Since we own the land, it wasn't fair to charge you back a share of the land, and so you're saving your share of a couple $1 million, on a land cost basis. The cost of your part of the project is really based on the programming that your staff did and said, here's what we need, here's what we want. And when you add all that in at today's cost, then that's what it would cost to do your share. So you're really coming out ahead. If you'd have gone about this on your own, your cost would be greater. You would have a land cost built in there. Your site work that allows you to get all the way around the building and all those kinds of things would have been more because no one would have been paying a share of that. Some of that site has to be done whether we're there or whether you're there. And so there's some added costs there, your architectural fees, your engineering fees. A lot of the numbers that would have been paid by either party doing it alone, by collaborating, we were able to split those costs and we come up with something, believe it or not, that's really cheaper than either one of us could have done by ourselves.
And Bobby, so for example, any mention of interest, what we're doing is just paying what you guys are already paying.
Right. We're just taking our debt service and dividing it by the 20 years, and then you all are paying 48% of that, or 48.2 or 3 or whatever it was, percent of that debt service, which is the rent basically. Just like if you were renting an office building, you would build the office building, you would figure out how much it cost you to build it, you'd figure out what your maintenance costs were, and you would charge rent to recover those costs, and then you would add a profit to that, and that would be your total rent. Well, we don't have a land cost and we don't have a profit in it, so really you're paying maintenance and your share, if you will, of the construction cost.
So and on the negotiation, the landlord usually has a profit motive, and you're saying the county doesn't have a profit motive in this, and I appreciate you saying and understanding that it's cheaper for the town than we could ever do on our own. So I do understand that.
And cheaper for the county, so it was a win-win.
Win-win, yeah.
Right. And then in 20 years, increases are they going to be fixed? How's that? I mean, once the debt service is paid and all that, then how is rent determined?
So the maintenance cost is much like you do, I don't know, like we do with the schools. You look backward, and your finance department, our finance department, look at what it costs to maintain it over the previous year. You then take our 52% of that, we pay that, and you pay your 48%, and that's ongoing over time for whatever we're responsible to do the maintenance. We charge back that cost to you all.
Is future rent increases, is it going to be a formula that's going to be pre-written into the lease, or is it going
There's no future rent increases. When the 20-year debt is up, that payment goes away. You don't owe any more money. Then your cost is only your maintenance cost going forward.
And that's going to be written into this lease?
Yeah, that's in the lease now.
Almost like a mortgage on your house.
Okay.
Yeah.
You pay your mortgage, you don't owe your bank anymore. You've got clean
'Cause
title,
we
but you're
don't
still
have-
paying maintenance, taxes, insurance, things of that.
Right.
Because we have no profit. We're not trying to get anything out of this, so there's no rent increase or no
There's no rent at all.
rent at all.
Well, I mean, I forgive my ignorance, because I wasn't really. I know we were part of all this discussion, but we weren't really part of the details. So
Okay, sure. That's why I'm here, so that we
Yeah.
can answer these
Yeah.
questions.
And I also, just to kind of, governments are a 20-year maximum, which not ever, is that correct? Governments are
Yes,
sort of
that's
held
as
to
far
like
as
a
the
20-year.
LGC will let us
Right,
borrow.
right. So,
I say
so
that.
some people say, well, why don't you finance it over 30 years? Well, you can't.
But you-
right, like,
You can,
technically.
but not under a
Right,
program
right,
like
right.
this. There's some
Right.
USDA stuff and other ways,
Right.
but they don't apply to what we're doing.
right,
And overall, the cost is lower when you pay it off sooner.
right.
There's economies of scale.
Well, and our
Too,
borrowing,
right.
our borrowing rate is
It's very good.
less than yours, and so
Right.
you save interest dollars.
I was
as
going
well.
to mention that too.
Yeah.
They have the really great credit rating, and we're getting the full advantage of that, and only paying our share.
Yeah.
And calling it rent is a technicality in a way. It's like you said, if we don't have rent after 20 years, we're just paying maintenance. It's really the same as owning. We're just kind of co-owning. It's all technical details, but really great partnership. You guys have done thorough work on this. I've been fortunate to work with Bobby when we were dealing with stuff with schools. We've done with maintenance things over the years, and they've got a great team over there
I
that,
can't say enough good things. The process has been great. The staff has been great. The fire department has been great. They've worked well with our staff to make sure we get it like you want it, and I think we've accomplished that. But so it has been a good project, and if you all approve this tonight, then in the next few weeks you'll start seeing activity on that site.
that's that close. Yeah, it's exciting.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve the lease as presented. I
Second.
think it's really exciting.
Yeah, we're very excited about it. So we have a motion from Ms. Ingram.
Second.
A second from Mr. Gray. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank
All
you,
right,
Bobby.
thank you. Nice to see you all.
You
you,
as
Bobby.
well, thank you.
Next item under new business is the recommendation of bid acceptance for the Wright Brothers 158 Phase 5 sidewalk project. Of course, we just got some grant money there, and I'm super
We
excited to hear
did, we
about
got some
this.
grant money from the Visitors Bureau.
They even made it into their brochure.
Yeah.
So great.
Yes, so this is, the final phase on US 158 for the sidewalks. Meredith is extremely excited to be able to say that this is the final
That's an excited
phase.
face.
You have the engineer, Pete Berkheimer, is here this evening, and you also have his recommendation in the packet, but if you have any specific questions for him. We recommend the accepting of the bid from Barnhill Contracting Company in the amount of $335,480 plus a 5% contingency. Also authorizing the manager to execute the contract with American Engineering and authorizing funding sidewalk capital reserve funds in the amount of $121,145. Approve the budget amendment to appropriate funds from undesignated fund balance and capital sidewalk reserve and grant funds. One of the other grants that the town received was through a nonprofit organization, Forever, what is it, Meredith? Forever Outer Banks? Outer Banks
Outer
Group.
Banks,
right.
Outer Banks
Yeah.
Group.
Works with the parks, yeah.
Yes, sir, they also contributed. So with those bullets on the second page of the memo, a motion would be in order.
I want to thank Pete for great work on the prep work. There was a wide range of bids, and looks like we really got a great deal, and we had some options to do it earlier or later. I'm pleased to see that we're gonna be able to do it earlier.
And one of the other advantages that we felt with this particular bid was Barnhill will also be doing the work on the bypass. So you won't have two different contractors working there.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons that we also recommended moving forward with it, was getting it done while they're already gonna be out there.
Probably why they could give us such a good rate on it
Yes.
compared to the other bids.
I'll make another motion, cause I'm
You're
like
on-
this
you're
one
on a
too,
roll.
so.
Yeah.
Well, normally I like saving money. I think, like to make a motion that the board accept alternative one to finalize the project by summer 2023.
We have a motion on the floor from Ms. Ingram.
I'll second that motion.
Got a second?
I do have a question.
We have further discussion, yes.
Is the width the same as what is already there in
Yes,
front of
sir.
the Wright brothers?
That's,
It's already in front of Wright Brothers,
Yeah.
but what they have, no.
It's
It's
not.
the same as all of our other sidewalks, and we have designed it so that our sidewalk will be 5 feet, and it will come and flare in to meet their 10-foot. Really pretty, actually. Pete did an excellent job. It's gonna be a nice curve that's gonna flare out and
Well,
meet
doesn't
their
that taper
existing
down though?
and then, yeah, it'll flare out and it'll taper down in about, what, 20 or 30 feet?
It's
We're-
actually more like 50.
Yeah,
The
so
air
it'll be a
gradual.
very
What is
gradual.
Once they go to the sidewalk off of their, concrete, what is that width, Pete?
That sidewalk at the entrance to the Wright Memorial is 10 feet wide.
Okay, but then it tapers down as you get past it. It'll go down to a smaller
Five.
width. It looks like 5 feet.
It's gonna be about a 50-foot taper.
It'll approach it as 5, then in 50 feet it'll taper from 5 up to 10 and hit theirs, which has existed for 20 years. And then it'll stay that across their entrance, and then it'll taper back down to 5.
But not in a rapid pace. It's
No,
very
not at all.
gradual.
It'll be graceful.
graceful.
You say
Okay.
graceful?
Graceful.
Question.
Be gorgeous.
Mayor, if I might, before
Yes.
the vote is taken, I wanted to let you know that this body passed a resolution at your October meeting 5 months ago requesting the DOT to expedite the extension of the too short right turn lane for southbound Croatan Highway onto westbound Collington Road, and they've agreed to do that.
Fantastic.
And they're gonna widen it or extend it and move the taper up, and also put a curb and gutter on it, which will make our sidewalk work better down in that area. So it was a very gracious act on their part. And finally, tell that dude in the video at the beginning to work on that nasal twang. See what he
I
can
don't know where
do
that
about
guy's
it.
from. Thanks, Pete. All right, one more call for further discussion. All right, hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. We're about to have some
Thank you.
sidewalks.
Thank you very
Exciting.
much.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Pete.
Thank you for all the work
Meredith.
on it, Meredith. And thank you, Pete. Appreciate it. Next item on new business is appointments. We have a vacancy on the Street Improvement Special Projects Committee. I think it's alternate, is that right? Anybody have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I guess that's my committee. Obviously, Martin Dalton is resigning, and would we normally just open that up for application?
We haven't had any
for an
new
alternative,
applications
or-
recently.
All the recent applications have been submitted to the board.
I know Philip Whalen was interested at one point. He was on the list, and he's great. I don't know if you guys know him, but he's great.
I don't know.
I'd like. I mean,
I know.
I'd like to
I know
see.
Phil, he did
Yeah,
a good job.
yeah. I'd
Smart
like to
guy.
see him.
He's pretty conscientious fellow,
Mhm.
Yeah.
yeah.
I think so too. So
And
if you're
satisfied
not
with
opposed, I'd make
Oh,
a
I'm
motion
satisfied
to-
with that. If you
Yeah.
could vouch for him, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you'd like to make
make
that
the
motion unless there's
Sure,
somebody
I'll
else.
make a
who
motion
wishes
to appoint
We
Philip
just-
Whalen.
There we go, we have a motion.
Second.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Congratulations, and we'll get him the good news. I'm sure he's excited. We'll be glad to have him. Next item on the agenda is committee reports. Anybody been to a committee? There's down here.
Yes, Mayor, I attended the Coastal Resources Advisory Council meeting down in Ocean
yes.
Isle Beach back on February 22nd. It was a really, it was a productive meeting. We did a lot of talk around the updates to how to handle damaged and exposed septic systems that are east of the dune line around the state, and it's still a long work in progress. We made a lot of requests to make it more applicable rules and easier for county and municipal staffs to understand and apply, and it's gonna take some work, but getting there.
Getting there. Super.
And I would say Bobby Allen's the chair of that committee and represented the county very well at that meeting. Did a good job.
Yes, you mentioned that. That's good to know. Thanks for sharing that. Any other committee reports?
Other than, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, nothing.
Have a GEACC meeting tomorrow, and according to Michael, we're gonna hopefully get rid of all these big can lights up there. So I'll let you know once we have our meeting if it all goes well.
Okay, good deal. Good. Looking forward to seeing that.
And I think we're pretty close to due to have a streets meeting. So maybe by next meeting we should have an idea of that.
All right.
Mayor, I missed one thing. I would be remiss. I believe this Thursday, the 16th, we have a Community Appearance Commission meeting that morning here as well.
Good to know. Good to know.
Sue's not here to do my work for me. Promoting the CAC.
Put you on the spot. Put you on the
Yeah.
spot.
You're correct. You do.
All right. If that's it for committee reports, we'll get into commissioner's agenda. Anything, sir?
I would like to make a couple of comments.
Yes.
First, I want to thank the assistant town manager. I called her and talked to her today, and she was very informative about the lease agreement and some questions I had about that, and thank you very much. And then the only other comment that I want to make is good-looking group here in the back of the
Yes.
building. Glad y'all came.
Nicely done. Nicely done.
Yeah. That's all, man.
Thank you, sir.
I don't really have anything. I'm excited to see that video you put together, and I'm encouraged by the park's improvements. Good job there.
Exciting to see that come together. Ms. Ingram?
Yeah, I just have one thing. Stephanie Baker, who is the associate director at Outer Banks Hotline, called me right before the meeting, so I just got this information. But they are, April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, and so they're kicking off a campaign called Community for Hope. And so what they're doing is they're looking for 100 teams to raise at least $100. And the campaign will begin April 1st, and it will culminate on April 29th with an event at Jockey's Ridge. So it's an inaugural event, and they're hoping to raise at least $10,000. So I just let her know that I would announce that. They're trying to just bring awareness to businesses, the communities, and
That's fantastic. I would love to see the town be one of those teams.
yeah,
We could get it
yeah,
together.
that would be great.
That'd be neat.
Yeah, that'd be great.
A
Let's do
good
it.
cause to support.
Yeah.
Yes, one thing. Today I attended a meeting with Bob Sanders and Clayton Scarborough from the disc golf community, and we discussed what ways can the town and that community work together more to improve the experience and safety back on the disc golf course. Some ideas that were discussed were kind of updating the signs at the holes that are more kind of on brand for KDH, and kind of update the whole appearance and appeal of the disc golf course. Kind of increasing communication between disc golf community and its staff, so maintenance and liability issues can be addressed quicker. And then, long-term planning is disc golf course is very successful. A lot of people enjoy it, and talking about investments down the road, maybe paving the road, which we've discussed before, adding a water line, a bathroom back there, not just for disc golf, but also the Camp Salt kids, and maybe a small pavilion like we've seen at other parks around town. So if it's a rainy day or people want to have a picnic, have a little shelter to do that. But overall, very nice meeting.
That's fantastic, yeah. I think I spoke with Mr. Gray about, it's been a little while since we had the West Side group, and that we are now kind of looking ahead to the future for our next several years when it comes to capital improvement ideas, when it comes to improving parks and the experience in various areas, beach accesses, soundside access, all that sorts of things. So we were kicking around the idea of putting together another committee so we get some more citizen input, make sure that we get stakeholders that are interested in that sort of thing to bring lots of brains and lots of good ideas, so we can start prioritizing those for the future. So, we never know what the economy is going to do, but hopefully we're on our way to another good year. And we'll see what we can get into the next budget. If that's it for Commissioner's agenda, I have a number of items on the Mayor's agenda. I'm going to start with...
Got a bunch on there.
Yeah, I got a bunch of things there, but this first one's the most important and most interesting. And I'm going to take a second to come out there to the podium, because I have something pretty special going on tonight. The mayor gets to do some fun things once in a while, and this hasn't been done in a while. So once in a while, we get a chance to honor a distinguished member of the community or a citizen for their service, their leadership, their accomplishments. And when we talk about service, these things mean a lot to us right here. So we've got service to the community, where you're giving of yourself, doing things that are more important for the group, for the whole, for the greater good of the community. And we've got leadership, like the guidance of a compass to put us all going in the right direction. When you see great leadership, you want to recognize it, because it motivates others and creates sustaining, long-lasting change for the better. And anytime somebody has a lot of accomplishments and their willingness to preserve over a period of time, it's great to be able to sum that up and recognize those accomplishments and effort and skill over time. So this board, or the mayor, I guess, in previous times, have only given this honor 3 times in the history of the community. One was in 2008 for Bill Pitt and Bobby Rollison were both honored that year. And then in 2018, Fred Costello was honored. So after only 3, I'm excited to be able to present this award a 4th time. So this is, we like to say unsung hero, but that's not really true. There have been people singing the praises of this person. This person's service community is best described by Theodore Roosevelt's speech, "The Man in the Arena." It says, "The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred with sweat and dust and blood, who strives valiantly." And I'm going to put this person's picture on the screen. A few words about your assistant fire chief, Thomas M. Lee. He joined the fire department as a volunteer, 1973. That's 50 years ago, Casey. I couldn't do the math on that. But I understand you actually volunteered before that and that sort of thing, yeah? Came down on weekends and that sort of thing. Back when, did we have employees back then? It was way back there. So let's see. 1981, promoted to captain. 1984, firefighter of the year. 1994, promoted to assistant chief. In 2013, recipient of the Chiefs Award, got that award again. In 2018, received numerous commendations for his service, really too many for them to even list for me here. And it just goes to show that you can easily keep up with the pack. In 2019, 20, and 21, those 3 years, he was the recipient of most fire calls for volunteers. 2019, 108 calls. 2020, 120 calls. 2021, 111 calls. Wow. So we like to honor you as the has having served for so many years, and it's my honor to recognize you as the 2023 recipient of the Mayor's Achievement Award. Got a little gift there as well. Look at that beautiful thing.
Thank you.
We'll hold that up there too. Wait, we'll see how we can do this.
How's that going? It's not gonna work.
There we go. Smile for these guys right here. Tommy.
Yeah.
All right, another big round of applause. Thank you. We're gonna do one more photo if we could, sir.
Okay.
You're gonna give him about 30 minutes to make a response, right?
Commissioners?
Oh, we gotta get this.
Yes.
Gotta get a nice group photo for you to hang on the wall. Thank you so much for it.
If I get hurt with 25,
I can't believe I can pull off a surprise. Pretty good.
Yes.
Two hands.
Brenda? Brenda?
Come on.
And can we get our fire community up here with this time?
There we go, very nice.
How are you?
Don't crowd him. If anyone has good knees, kneel down here, folks, because I.
There we go. Good news in front.
Yes.
I've almost beaten to it. That was something.
Let me help him up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you all for coming. That was great. Very nice. Very nice. Good job there, Michael. James in. James in, Odie. Oops, sorry.
That was great. That's a great photo too.
Good job.
All right.
Good job. Good job.
What was the name of the month? Oh, no, the, never mind. So let's see, I have a couple other items here for the mayor's agenda. One is under proclamations and resolutions. I've got a proclamation declaring March 2023 as Multiple Sclerosis Awareness Month, as well as the awareness we talked about earlier. And this highlights the importance of multiple sclerosis awareness for our community. Affects over 18,000 in North Carolina, and giving awareness to it is vital to helping everybody and their families. So I recommend approval of this proclamation, and that is my motion.
Second that motion.
We got a second over here. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
The motion carries. Thank you so much. Next item on my list here is First Flight Farmers Market. It's about that time again. So we're getting kicked up with that. I think, let's see, where's the date? It's down here somewhere. Starts on June 20th. We're gonna do it every Tuesday, except take 4th of July off. Gotta have 4th of July off, do other things. But we typically have about 65 local vendors that participate. Wide variety of goods and services, sweets and savory treats, woodworking, photography, painting, jewelry, candles, gifts for everybody. Anybody's got a summer birthday, you know where to go. It's of course held at Aviation Park over here at 103 Veterans Drive. Got parking there, and of course lots of extra parking at the high school and the elementary school, and I think we're expanding our parking over there, aren't we?
Yes.
It's looking good over there. So that coming together. And so again, that's every Tuesday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., starting on the 20th of June, going through August 15th. And hope to see everybody there. So come out and support those local vendors. All right. So when I move places, I lose track of where my stuff is. Here we go. There we go. All right. So that's the mayor's agenda. Next item is the town manager's agenda.
Yes, sir, thank you. The first item this evening we'd like to discuss is the US 158 beautification. And our Public Services Director, Steve Albright, is here this evening to go over the memorandum that he presented for the board, which highlights the current maintenance along the highway, and it also provides option for additional maintenance opportunities, which we can incorporate in the upcoming budget. So,
Hello.
Nice work, Steve. Really looked good.
We did have some success with DOT that I want to point out. The roadside environmental crew sent some crews down mid to late January and used a machine. And they had a rolling lane closure to clip the grass that was growing over into the gutter pan and got that all trimmed up, and it did definitely improve things, and they made a sweeping pass.
Yeah.
So, but to respond, you guys were interested in what could more be done, and so I wanted to give you what we're doing now with the supplemental mowing, trying to do 5 passes in between the DOT passes, and then the per mow price that we pay for that contractor, and then if we wanted to do some additional passes, what that money would be, and then also they've got a new sweeping contractor from Columbia that was willing to do additional passes. They have the equipment and can do the lane closure. They are willing to do it at night, and you've got a per pass sweeping cost, the second item.
Nice.
And then the final thing is the sidewalk edging. That's been commented before, that when the contractor goes through and gets the grass off the sidewalk and the sand and the debris and edges it, you know, it looks nice and clean. And so the first time, I don't think the contractors knew what they were in for, and so the price was a little lower. But now that they've done it 3 or 4 times, they know what the hours and the costs are, and so that's the third price there is a per pass price to edge all the sidewalks along 158.
These are fantastic. Really, really excited to see this. You know, this has been on my hit list for decades, probably well before I was on this board. We were talking about that as one of those things that really has great benefit to everyone in the community. Beautification of the bypasses, you know, it's what people think of us, other than beach accesses. Those are the things they see when they come visit, and it really, I hear from business owners all the time that, you know, they take a lot of time and care to take care of their own property, but it's kind of hopscotch down the bypass. So I hope that the board will take a look at this and we can discuss as we get into budget season things. I don't think we necessarily have to go all the way to the top line there, but I certainly would like, just off the top of my head, thought, you know, somewhere in the middle. I think, you know, you were talking about mowing. We probably don't need to mow every week in April and May, but maybe once or twice in April and May, and then if we went weekly, maybe in the summertime. That's generally what works for my house. I don't know about you guys, but I know that if we mowed with that frequency, it would make a huge, huge difference. And like you said, sidewalk edging, you know, doing that every single month might be more than is necessary. Maybe even just a couple of times during the summer could work. So, and then same with sweeping. I think when I drive up down the bypass, I realize that about middle of the summer you can start seeing that sand collecting, and then as soon as there's some sand, then something starts growing out of it. You know, life will find a way, right? So yeah, adding a couple more in there would be great.
Yes, Mayor, I'm kind of on the same page here. I think somewhere in the middle for all three of these is a pretty wise investment, and we can kind of shoot for the median, see what we get
Yeah,
over a year,
and
and
then
then kind of fine tune it down the road
Next-
once we're
The
a
next
little
summer,
more
we went
forward.
too far or want to go farther, we really have a benchmark, and we'll see if people notice, and I know I'll notice.
I think if you look at it for a year,
Yeah.
and then you'd be able to, like John said, you'd be able to fine tune it to what you want exactly. I think that'd be good.
And we've had a lot of, the economy has changed a lot. It's hard to, see through all of the
Yeah.
crazy years we've had, plus inflation and all that sort of thing. But I believe the budget has grown enough that we can fit this in. So I'm looking forward to talking about that at budget time. Any other questions you got for Steve?
Just thanks, Steve, for bringing that
Really
forward.
great work. Really appreciate it. Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Steve. And then second, we discussed this back in December when you set your calendar for the year. And, so as of today, I would like to recommend that you make a motion and cancel the second meeting in March, like we did for February.
So moved.
I'll second that.
A motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And it is done.
Thank you.
Right.
And that's all, sir. Thank
That's
you.
the two for you, right?
Two for me.
There's our town attorney has something about
I
fiber
do,
optics.
I do. So, and this report's coming from me, because I had the pleasure of drafting this beautiful, flawless document that you guys
You
have
heard
in
it here
front of
first.
with the assistance of, town staff. And I put a cover memo on top of the ordinance, but essentially what's going on is, we've been approached by some providers of fiber optic services, high-speed internet, if you will, and the folks that have approached us, there's nothing, no deal's been inked, nothing like that. So we're trying to get ahead of this because even if you guys don't decide to allow this particular provider or however that works, we don't think it's going to be the last. Let's put it that way. I mean, fiber optic, as we know, high-speed internet in general is all the rage. It's coming. So if we don't adopt an ordinance like what's in front of you, what we're left with, however, is if they come and they install these lines and we have no regulatory authority over those particular cables. We've experienced that. Meredith gave me a little bit of history with Charter, for example. There's, abandoned lines out there in the town's right-of-ways that we essentially have no authority over. Okay, they're just going to stay there and they're going to be abandoned. So what this would allow, it's titled a franchise ordinance, but we're not buying into a McDonald's. We're not partnering with these folks, nothing like that. What it is a title or an ordinance again that is going to allow us some regulatory authority over where these lines, if indeed they get installed, where they're installed, how they're installed, maintenance responsibilities, all of the necessaries to be able to again force regulation in the event future circumstances cause the need for it. So you'll also note we are replacing, instead of going in, and Meredith called me last week and we decided this was the best route. Instead of going in and adding a new chapter to our ordinance, what we're doing is we're replacing what was chapter 113, which was cable services. So Spectrum, whatever your TV cable. That's now a state regulated utility. So we have no need for that ordinance anymore. We've lost that power. So we're just proposing that this again just take the place of what used to be our cable services ordinance. There is no, I put this in the memo, that just for the public though, this is not an amendment to our zoning code, so there's no public hearing that's required. So you guys tonight, if you're so inclined, can adopt this without the need for any of the public hearing formalities. And any questions, me or myself or Meredith can certainly answer, but I think it makes sense to do, for sure.
I would imagine that other towns have similar things in place. But we don't know.
I don't know if they're doing a franchise agreement. I don't know if they've had as much communication as we have. We've had a couple companies. I also like to say that in the Coastal Review this month, if you read the article about the improvement to the Alligator River Bridge, it was highlighted that Boyette also noted that part of what's going to happen with this bridge is going to be high-speed internet all the way from Rocky Mount to Nags Head. So DOT's getting involved in getting the trunk line where it needs to be, and it's not one company, there's currently, in the last people we spoke with, there's 60, Steve, is that about right? High-speed internet providers out there, and that's what prompted us to go to the attorney and work on a franchise agreement so that we could control, we don't have that much room. So control how this is done and get some control to the chaos before it gets here. So I'm not sure how the other towns are handling it. That's just how we decided to approach it.
And this isn't the first time. We've approached other utilities, the natural gas line that was installed. We've approached those type utilities the same manner.
Okay, right.
So we don't know if the companies have approached other towns. We don't know that.
I know that one had meetings with all of the other towns.
Okay.
We were their first meeting, so I don't know what their conversations with the other towns were.
Is this something the state would take over, like they do with the cable eventually? Anyway.
Well,
I mean,
we
I
don't
don't know. I don't know
Future.
what's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Hard
in the
to
future.
say.
Yeah.
Right now, it's an independent company that works through the Utilities Commission. Steve knows a little bit more about the trunk line and stuff like that than I do. But,
Yeah.
There's parts that are owned by the state or controlled by the state. They're regulated by the state, and then companies
Do the last mile.
work off of it.
Yeah, the MCNC that was installed maybe 10 years ago, it currently services all the public buildings, I guess has some unused capacity.
And Steve looked over this as well and provided his input. So I think we've had all the eyes laid on it that we needed to.
Is there guidance? I mean, in putting this together, do you have guidance from?
My brain.
Not really. No, there's no guidance from like the.
No,
From
no.
the
Actually,
Utilities
what
Commission?
I did is I took the natural gas franchise ordinance that we already had in place. So for uniformity purposes, didn't want to recreate the wheel. So use that as a guidance, if you will. And I can't remember if I think I drafted that one too. And now at that point, maybe. But with us already having franchise for utilities in place, I was able to easily manipulate that to
Use it as a
take care of
template.
fiber optics.
I think it's a good step in protecting the town, so that you can say something.
Like, this involves burying things next to the road, and they want to be able to control what's going on there and
That's
not
right.
have any negative consequences. We still have authority. Am I
Exactly.
saying that right? Yeah.
I think it's a good.
There's only but
good
so much
document.
space there. So
Yeah.
Sounds good.
All right. So we're looking
So
for
mo-
a motion.
Motion.
I
Is
mean,
it
you
the
guys
Ivy
know
show
how
tonight?
much. Well, you guys know how much I need fast internet because I think I
like,
might
I
have the
want
worst
internet.
internet in Kildare Hill.
It is bad. It is
So
bad.
I'll go ahead and make a motion to adopt this and just bring it.
We have a motion.
No, I'm just
Second.
kidding.
And
It
a
is good to
second.
get ahead of it though.
All right. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed, nay? Got it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Casey. Good job.
All right, so that brings us to the consent agenda.
Yes,
Couple more items in
make
there.
sure I get to the second page tonight. Yes, sir. First item is the minutes from the February 13th, 2023 meeting, the January 2023 monthly report. Got 3 budget amendments, one to appropriate funds for the beach sand fencing. Second is purchase of meters for the meter replacement program. This was originally scheduled to take place next year. However, in order to accomplish that, we needed to go ahead and put the order in for the meters this year. And this allows us to do that. Budget amendment will allow us to do that. The last one is to appropriate remaining assistance to firefighters grant fund for the purchase of radio and associated supplies. Number 4 is the Nags Head Woods Ecological Preserve 21-22 annual report. This is what each of our partnerships do every year, as they report back to the board how the funds were used through the partnership. And then lastly is memorandum interlocal agreement between the town of Nags Head and the town of Killable Hills for providing building inspection services. And staff recommends approval of the consent agenda as presented.
Mayor, I'll move that we approve the consent consent agenda as presented.
Excellent. We have a motion from Mr. Gray.
Second that motion.
We have a second from BJ. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion carries. We have
Thank
consent
you.
agenda. Thank you.
Very much.
All right. Now it gets us to that point in the evening where we have a second opportunity for public comment. So now everyone's itching to tell us all the things that you're thinking. Going once, going twice for public comment. All right, we will close public comment, which leaves us to the bottom of the page.
It's a good place to be.
I guess they want to stay here.
I make a motion to adjourn.
There you go. Let's go, Michelle.
I'll second that, Mayor.
We got it. Motion and a second. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much. Thank you for all your service.